Airbnb is announcing new security measures.
They could not believe what they saw.
Stealing over $35,000 in valuables.
Furniture destroyed, garbage everywhere.
Not really traveling right now. Things are looking a lot different for short-term rentals.
Airbnb is currently having a difficult time. Being one of the most popular travel short-term rental, the company was hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. In 2019, Airbnb was valued at $31 billion. By the end of April 2020, its valuation almost halved to $18 billion. Now, we could blame the pandemic for the company's downfall. But really, Airbnb has been struggling long before the COVID-19 disarranged our daily life. The story begins since 2007. Two former classmates Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia from the Rhode Island School of Design both quit their job, wanting to pursue their own business. Yet, two things happened simultaneously, guiding them to another path they hadn't anticipated. First, they received notice that the rent for their apartment in San Francisco would be raised by 25%. For the two unemployed graduates, this message was a looming deadline that would almost certainly make them homeless. The second thing is, they attended an industrial design conference in San Francisco. Shortly, they received another notice saying all hotels were sold out. And that encouraged them to stumble upon a new business idea: help people rent out their spare rooms. Since then, Airbnb has grown so fast. Within 10 years, its total number of rooms had occupied 1/3 of the world's hotels' rooms combined. Up until today, the company offers diversified accommodations in a large variety. From a single room in a modern flat in New York City, to a castle in Cambria, or a tree house, a motorhome, or even a houseboat. Airbnb's online platform distinguishes itself from the traditional hospitality industry, using it as benefit to maximize the flexibility during an expansion. Well, Airbnb does not own any real estate or manage any hotels. Instead, they wait and see if there's anyone from unexplored areas interested in sharing their extra rooms. Another reason that Airbnb has such a massive accommodation inventory than any other restaurant is because of its unique advertisement, the customers, or word of mouth. Airbnb's guests and hosts can interchange with each other, which helps the company to further enlarge an exclusive inventory in return. These unique advantages established in the early stage is what makes Airbnb still very competitive until early this year. Facing charges of discrimination and legal regulation while squeezed by the intense competition, the platform has been criticized for dedicating to inequality and driving up local rental prices, contributing to housing shortages in major cities. Little known by the public, all the problems were predetermined. Because Airbnb as a multinational business, the absence of a systematic strategy to control place, and process became particularly glaring. I am Junming. Today, we'll be interviewing two of our peers and have a look at their insightful perspectives and see what we can do to pull Airbnb out of the mud.
What we have found is that Airbnb lacks regulations and interventions on the inside because they were accustomed to take less responsibility. You see, as an accommodation platform company, Airbnb should have their unique business model, but their model is easy to copy today. They are competing with online travel agents, new internet platforms, and traditional hotel chains, but they are facing difficulties when they try to enter a rising market like China. Not only because their guests have ruined part of their reputation, but the safety and discrimination issue of Airbnb has also bothered their customer for a long time. The critical issue that we found are damaging Airbnb's user experience and reputation are the degrees of efforts when they are trying to fix the safety and discrimination issues. They have done things like performing a risk scoring analysis, offering 24/7 global support team, and announced zero tolerance on discrimination. These efforts show a minimum degree of intervention to fix those issues or prevent them from happening. So what we believe is that Airbnb must take more responsibilities to apply a solving plan to protect and screening the customers. To hit the performance targets, our team have compared the similar situation of Didi and come up with 4 alternatives. The first one is, since they have a real-time emergency hotline, setting up a 1 key alarm mode into their app will be applicable. A real name registration system is also a good option for screening customers. We try to let Airbnb participate in incident prevention and indirect intervention. Both systems can be built directly on the existing platform, so save time and money for Airbnb, but acceptance of real name system is a big problem. We can also establish an independent supervision department or let others do the supervision for them. What we consider is for Airbnb to take more responsibilities to all find methods of direct intervention for them, but the cost of the implementation and difficulties is enormous for them to add an additional construction beyond their current structure. We can also educate their hosts to provide a better quality of service, like design a standard course for their hosts and give the host an official certification mark in their profile after they complete the course. We also consider a two-way blacklist system, so the platform can use those data to punish blacklisted guests and hosts. We focused on customer screening to collect information to provide customers with useful information and wearing warnings before they book the space with Airbnb. So the standardized service is a great idea to compete with hotel chains. The cost of money and time is high, but the plan seems a little bit tricky to apply. We also come up with the most straightforward and convenient solution is to purchase insurance for both host and guest. Or Airbnb can provide the insurance as an additional option for the customer when they book a stay. This is the most common method today to transfer risk to the insurance company and the customer, but we don't think this method can solve the problem for Airbnb in the long term. And we have done a decision matrix after discussion, and we believe educating the host and offer a two-way blacklist in the platform is the best solution. So to complete the project, the IT department and the HR department should come up with a budget at the beginning. So we know the cost of adding a function and form an online course. And then we should ask the IT department to carry out the prototype within 1 to 2 months. The HR department can invite the best hosts and hire hospitality instructors to form the trial course during that period. Before fully implement the new function and launch the online course, we think it's necessary to do public beta test after we go the prototype system. So about where to go first, we consider North America as one of the leading markets. Also, Europe is currently the largest market for Airbnb. So the prototype and beta test should be applied in North America and Europe as the first stage. Also, Airbnb has a hard time to operate in China, so we think the beta test in Asia should be slower. Since the time and money cost of providing additional insurance is relatively small and it's quite easy to implement, we use the option of purchasing additional insurance as a backup plan during the test period, and this option can be used as a permanent plan after the test period.
Internal problems seems to be the most obvious and the most straightforward ones for Airbnb. The suggested programs may be able to correct Airbnb's operational issues in a short term. But from a broader vision, Airbnb still has more severe problems. What caused the company step into quagmire isn't just a lack of internal supervision or intervention policies. Only through step-by-step analysis in Airbnb's strategy can we uproot the canker. Proposing short and medium-term remedial measures are only the beginning of our plan. From an industrial level of perspective, the insufficient competitiveness caused by the lack of feasible policies on the inside has become another problem.
For Airbnb, another sub-issue that result from the absence of its main strategy is called lack of competitive advantages. So we basically identified and analyzed these issues using the Porter's 5 forces theory, and the result was very interesting. The market entry is considered as a very low barrier, and the competition is really intense. And in the meanwhile, the supplier and the buyers, they hold a very high bargaining powers. So why is that? The Airbnb serves as an online agent or with a platform which links the housing supplier and the tenants together. So this is considered as a very low-cost business model to start. And only one thing unique for Airbnb, which is their idea. However, the idea is really easy to copy. So once the competitors copy their idea, and they can enter this market easily. On another hand, both the threat of substitute and the competitive rivalry are considered high. The traditional hotel industry does. Under this market situation, the buyers and the suppliers, they can switch to platform easily with a low cost. So that's why they remain a high bargaining power. This analysis provides us a clear result. Clearly, the Airbnb lack of core competitive advantages. So we think they really need a strategy for their product differentiation. But how are we going to do that? Our team provides two recommendations. The first, we call it as the network building process. This is an idea which deeply connects with other online platforms, such as Uber and the local food app platform, and as well as the airplane industry. With a deeper connection and cooperations, they can launch a bundle like travel bundle. Think that I am a customer, then I book the tickets and get my recommendation by one purchase. Once I get off my plan, there's Uber drivers waiting for me and brings me to my accommodation directly. And all the nice restaurants nearby my accommodation provide me a customized promotions, which I can really experience and enjoy the local culture. This would result a complete customer experience and brings unique product differentiation, increase the competitivity for Airbnb. We call the second recommendations as a value chain building process, which is a process involved in building their own payment system We call it as Airbnb payment system. This is a system which allows the customer to pay their rental fees, shopping local restaurants, local stores, and even purchase the airline tickets. And the housing supplier also should be involved in a value-added services. We call it as Airbnb local guide, which is the household could bring the tenants to experience the local, real local life. In addition, the Airbnb shouldn't be just restricted as an short-term rental app. Instead, it should be building their platform as a social media, and that allows people to make friends, connect together. Also, it can record which place you have been to and how many places you are not discovered in this city. This will bring a unique experience to all the customers who was using the Airbnb. Once the value chain system was built, it will be more costly for users to switch to another platform, and this will significantly increase the competitivity for Airbnb. However, there's potential risk involved in both processes, and the first and most important would be the data safety issues. And because once Airbnb starts to build their own payment systems, some data and information are really sensitive and important, such as customer payment information. Once those information being stolen by someone, it will cause huge financial loss for the company and lots of reputation damage. And the second risk from the deeply connected service for those Airbnb's allies. For example, if Airbnb and Uber launch a travel bundle, which customers can directly take Uber to the Airbnb accommodation. But if a passenger is being robbed by the driver, it will also heavily affect the Airbnb's reputation. We think the contingency plan will be necessary to be pre-designed to prevent those things happen. The data security requires a safety maintenance. The company may need to hire engineers and IT person to maintain security. Also, building a deep communication software across the platform would be necessary to solve the externalities caused by the allies.
The constant loss of the Airbnb's competitiveness is due to the wrong positioning and the lack of service differentiation. But more than that, Airbnb also failed to adapt to different cultures and regulations. We used the past model to analyze the symptoms. Soon, we identified Airbnb is missing a strategy to deal with diversified environment. The issue worth nothing is that New York City introduced regulations restricting short-term rentals in 2011, and as a result, Airbnb was still penalized by the same restriction in 2019. On the contrary, in the city of San Francisco, Airbnb cooperated with the local government to collect hotel taxes from each rental and then transfer the money to tax collectors. But not all governments do the same. Airbnb is struggling in the Chinese market too. Several international information sharing service providers have been banned by the government, such as Google, Facebook, and YouTube. These information service providers are essential for Airbnb to connect with customers. As market size and economic conditions vary in different countries, In order to run your businesses, different areas require different targeted strategies. Researchers argue that the housing prices in some cities have increased due to Airbnb's entry. Hence, many cities worry that Airbnb will adversely affect the long-term housing market. Although Airbnb's development momentum in the international market continue to slow down, the Airbnb's ambition to draw the world map is not yet fulfilled. Airbnb brings hosts and guests all around the world together. It indeed created cross-cultural communication experiences, but not all experiences are pleasant. Cultural conflicts between hosts and guests happen from time to time. The barriers are caused by demographics, but Airbnb lacks systematic awareness of differences, which further worsen such cases. We analyzed that a series of external feedbacks explained the missing of Airbnb's response strategies, and similar problems in different regions also reflected the insufficiency of diversified solutions for various conditions. Airbnb lacks the ability to deal with differentiated demands and changing markets, also suffers from insufficient strategic adjustment. Therefore, Airbnb needs a flexible response strategy to deal with the diverse needs and market challenges of different regions. Soon, we come up with a strategy called adaptive strategy. The strategy designed for Airbnb to fit the diversified environment. This strategy can be broken down into two segments, the internal and the external. The internal half also names decentralized decision-making structure. Airbnb's branches officers should have a higher degree of autonomy. The headquarters indeed have to set the direction for the company, but all the branches should be able to make decisions on how to achieve the goal. This allows branches to make policies by involving local culture, local laws, and regulations. Although most outlets in China probably won't accept a stranger staying under their roof for a night. As a result, for the Chinese market, you want to focus on only young people who live in the big cities. Choosing the right place and the right people is significant to Airbnb's expansion. Merger and acquisition will be an external method for Airbnb to adapt to the local environment. As a multinational corporation, which is now still worth more than 18 billion, when a merger occurs, Airbnb should pool resources from other regional branches to help the local branches conducting the merge and acquisition. The benefits from this would be blend in the local market smoothly. So, what actually happened in Airbnb is because the absence of a systematic strategy, resulting in the loss of internal control, lack of competitive advantages, and making it difficult to adapt to a diversified global market. Based on these three sub-issues, we provided strategies, recommendations, risk analysis, and contingency plan. Our strategy and plan were from specific to broad, incorporating short-term and long-term. By implementing them in the right time and the right sequence, the best is yet to come. But for this time, the only question is whether Airbnb will try its best to understand this world.